What's going on, guys? BC and Dalton, we are live again for another edition of Touch 'em All today. Figured we'd open up the live feed a couple minutes early here. We will start the handicaps, just after 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 11:30 a.m. Central. I figured we'd give folks a couple minutes to trickle in here before we get started. Rough card for me last night. Had a nice little winless night, but hoping to bounce back today.
I got to send you my golden. I got to send you my golden sombrero. I was wearing it the night before, so now you can have it.
Yeah, seriously. How was that Astros game yesterday?
I mean, boring. I had the Nerfy in the game. I probably should have gone first 5 under as well. Atmosphere was cool. They had the Altuve commemorative rings, so that was pretty cool. And I mean, 2-4. Sucks we lost, but I don't know. It's always nice to be out in the ballpark. I would say, even though we lost, I was probably having more fun at the ballpark on Wednesday afternoon than most people who were stuck at work. So that's how I optimistically look at it.
I mean, there's nothing wrong. Like being at the ballpark on a weekday afternoon is always great. But yeah, well, nice. Yeah, I'm debating whether Molly and I might try to sneak out to the Reds game tomorrow against the White Sox. I like watching Hunter Green pitch, but the tickets are actually like a little bit expensive for watching those two teams. So I don't know. I'm not sure if I want to pay $40 to watch the Reds.
I was about to ask, what's an expensive ticket for Cincinnati? $40. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, because $40 is not an expensive ticket in general. But most of the time, you can get into that ballpark for $12.
Yeah, you can get into Minute Maid, I think, for like $10 or $12 for standing room, and then seats start like $20. So all day long. I mean, hell, our boxes, we ended up walking down, to the field level. That's somebody that were down there. They called me, saw me in the concourse, like, hey, come on. Now we got spaced out the field box level, so that's where we watched those last 3 terrible innings. But yeah, I mean, $40 for a Red game. Get out of here.
Yeah. I mean, they're fun, but it's it's an hour and 20 minutes away, so it's a whole thing, and I don't know. Probably going to pass on it. Probably going to just go to a couple Louisville Bats games next week with the AAA team when they're back in town. But all right, well, we got 12:30 Eastern time here. I'm going to go ahead and run our promo video, and then we'll start diving in with our handicaps one by one. It's good to see we've got a viewer here. I hope we can absolutely thrill them with our handicaps today. Let's get going. All right. Without further ado, we're going to go ahead and dive right into our handicaps today. We have a bunch of day games, so we've got 4 games that all start up here at about 1:05 and 1:10 Eastern time, so about half an hour before the first game start. We're going to prioritize hitting those games first, and then we'll get to the rest of them. But we're going to have to go rapid fire a little bit here off the top. So I'll go ahead and introduce the first one. Chicago Cubs, Washington Nationals. They're finishing up their series from DC. Cubs are pretty significant favorites here, minus 179, over under 8.5 runs in that one. That's going to be Jameson Taillon taking the mound for the Cubs against our best friend Patrick Corbin taking the mound for the Nationals. I've got a bet here. I know you've got a bet here. We're aligned on the side, but we're approaching it a little bit differently. I'll go ahead and jump right in with mine. I like the Chicago Cubs team total over 2.5 runs in the first 5 innings here. It's a classic fade of Patrick Corbin. Cubs are the second best team in baseball against left-handed pitching in WRC+. Cubs have really been a lot better offensively this year than a lot of people thought. Struggling a little bit of late, but I think Patrick Corbin's just the guy to get him right. His expected ERA is right around 7. He's allowed 7 or more hits in 5 of his last 6 starts. And he's allowed teams to go over this number in all 6 of his starts so far this season, 3 or more runs allowed. Obviously, he was horrible last year. There's been a little bit of improvement with him, especially in his walk rate. So I think, as of late, he's been pitching a little bit better, but a little bit better for Patrick Corbin is still not very good. So I will go ahead and take the Cubs team total over 2.5. Obvious spot here, in my opinion. So not going to overthink it. Going to jump right on it. And Tyone has looked good so far, but I don't have it. I don't have quite enough trust in him. So I'll let you go ahead and take it away on your first 5 play here.
Yeah. Stop me if you've heard this. Woohoo! Today is St. Patrick Corbin Day. Feels like I've heard that for years now during handicapping. Even though he has allowed, even though he has allowed at least 7 hits in all but one of his starts and at least 3 runs in every start this season, has actually gotten better, much worse actually. In his previous 2 seasons, you and I were talking about it before we went on air, that his improvement is there, but he's still not good. He throws a fastball slider combo almost exclusively. The spin rate is one of the worst in baseball. Fastball's in the low 90s, so he doesn't overpower you. He doesn't paint corners with the slider either. He doesn't strike anybody out. So, I mean, he just doesn't have good stuff, is basically what it comes down to. Problem is the Cubs offense has regressed a bit in this home series. Of course, this could be a get-right game for the Cubbies. I think only Eric Hosmer is hitting worse than 250 versus Corbin lifetimes. So, opponent batting average versus Corbin also much worse at home. I think he's sitting at 330. Excuse me, batting average 330. And as a whole, the team does hit lefties extremely well. Number 2 in OPS. As you said, Jameson Taillon, 4.5 ERA, 1.36 WHIP. Honestly, he's just really unlucky, is what I'm saying. He's coming back off the IL, he had that groin injury, so it shouldn't affect him. But that pitching profile shows his stuff is really good, like top of the majors. Expected ERA, expected FIP are all significantly lower than what he's performing at. So you look at his career numbers; it's easily the worst start he's had this season, but his numbers still aren't terrible. 3.5 ERA, 1.36 WHIP is going to be your 3rd or 4th starter on an above-average baseball team. So both these bullpens grade out pretty closely. The pack, it's just too lopsided a pitching match to pass up or for me not to bet on Taillon. So if it broke, don't fix it. Cubs in the first 5, lay the half run.
Yeah, I don't mind it at all. And another factor that works in your favor here, Washington 28th in baseball against right-handed pitchers in WRC plus. So it's really not good. And if you get to Washington's bullpen early, their bullpen ranks 26th in xFIP in the majors. So I don't mind it at all. I think my trust in Tyone isn't quite there, but if today I'll put it this way, I'm ice cold right now, right? So I'm only playing things that are smash spots for me here. On a normal day, I'd probably join you on that, but not quite today for me. But I think it's a good pick. I think it's a winner. All right, we're gonna go ahead and bounce down the board a little bit here. We've got 3 interleague games that are all gonna start up here in about half an hour. So we're going to jump all the way down to Mets Tigers. Mets coming off a doubleheader sweep at the hands of the Tigers yesterday. They lost both of those games. They've got Justin Verlander finally taking the mound for them today for the first time coming off of his injury. Mets minus 165, decent sized favorites here, up to minus 176 this morning. Over under 7.5 in the game. We both have plays on this as well, so we're going to have to get to it. But I'll go ahead and find out and then pass it over to the last 2 games in the 1 p.m. slate. And then we can do it at a more normal pace. But, to start here, I like the Tigers catching the 1.5. Tigers are starting to compete. They're playing better baseball. Those guys are starting to come around a little bit offensively. Obviously, they struggle against right-handed pitching. I talk about that almost every time I handicap them, the fact that they don't hit righties well. And, there's no secret to the fact that Justin Verlander, when he's right, is a really good righty. But we've got Verlander here making his first start in quite a while off of an injury. We don't really know what we're going to get from him. We've seen it a little bit with Max Scherzer this year that age will eventually start to catch up with guys, even if they are as talented or as talented or as like elastic, if you want to say it, as a guy like Verlander is. But a lot of it for me comes down to liking Eduardo Rodriguez a lot. He's pitched really well. The Mets are middle of the road against lefties. Eduardo Rodriguez has allowed 1 run or fewer in 4 consecutive starts. He's really been exceptional. His expected ERA is under 3. His baseball savant page across the board really supports how well he's pitched. This is a Mets offense that's also just really not playing well at the moment. The Mets are a bit of a mess. So I think I'm getting the hotter team here, a really motivated young team that's trying to prove themselves playing at home. Catching a run and a half at only minus 110. I like it quite a bit. That way, even if Detroit's bullpen implodes late, which, by the way, Detroit's bullpen has been better than New York's in xFIP so far this year. But that way, if Detroit's bullpen blows it late, I still have a pretty good chance. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the run and a half with the pitcher that I probably value a little bit ahead of Verlander at this exact moment, only because Verlander's probably going to be on a pitch count and he's coming off of an injury. So give me the Tigers plus 1.5.
Yeah, I am not quite there, but I've got I did a similar process to get there. It's like it's tradition. It seems that high dollar Mets starting pitching has to get injured early or like before the season even begins. Verlander had the strainer muscle in his throwing shoulder. He's always had issues. Like the past 5 seasons now, he's had something gone wrong with him, and I suppose that's to be expected. He's 4 years old right now, but that's no cause concern. I mean, he was hurt last year too, and he only managed to help the Astros win a World Series and win his 3rd Cy Young Award while posting the lowest ERA in baseball. So I'm not super concerned. If he probably could have pitched in April, but the Mets don't need him in April; they need him in October. So the quick note is rehab assignment in Double A Binghamton went really well. 4 2/3, 6 Ks, 2 hits, a walk and no runs. You said he's probably going to get load managed, but this is about as good price as we're going to get on him moving forward. He'll probably be at least a $2 favorite every start from here on out, unless the Tigers light him up, which I just don't see happening. They just don't have the offensive firepower to do it. Eduardo Rodriguez, outstanding. This guy's really flying under the radar. He is a bet on pitcher if he would get some run support. 2.21 ERA, 8.7 WHIP. He throws 4 different pitches very well. He's been lights out all month. Houston got him early for 4 runs earlier in the month, and since then he's only allowed 2 runs at 4 starts. So that's against the O's, the Guardians, and the Jays. So pretty good hitting lineups there. Mets are flailing right now. Lost 4 of their last 5, 8 of their last 10. I can't back them in this form. Both bullpens are just okay. I look at the total here. Count on Verlander to pick up where he left off, especially against a weak Tigers offense and Rodriguez to stay dominant. Give me the Mets and Tigers first 5 under 4. I like the Nerfy as well, minus 140.
Yeah, I mean, I think if somebody can get that, I mean, by the way, speaking on the Nerfy, Rodriguez hasn't allowed any first inning runs this year, so I love that too. But Nerfy was a little too expensive in my book. It was beyond minus 150, so I couldn't quite do it. Same thing with the under 4. I was looking at like minus 125 on that. So if the numbers you're looking at are more similar to what BC is looking at than what I'm looking at, I totally endorse the bets he's making. I just didn't quite have those available to me, but no, it's good analysis. Sorry,
I caught that under 4 last night at like midnight, like when they opened. So I saw the Verlander, and I'm like, what kind of price we're gonna get? And I wonder what kind of number I get on an under. So that's what it was, and as y'all saw, it's jumped quite a bit since. So just heads up, make sure you do your homework overnight if you can, and try to get the best number.
Absolutely, yeah. But getting stuff overnight is always a good idea if you have the ability to. All right, we got 2 more interleague games that are starting up at 1 p.m. Eastern time. So I'll go ahead and we'll go through those. Let me take a look at your action here. I don't have action on either one of these. It doesn't look like you do either. So we'll whip through these pretty quick, and then we'll get to the rest of what we've got going on today. Pirates Rays, 110 start. Pirates turning to Vince Velasquez. Rays going to Zach Eflin in this one. Rays massive favorites, minus 210. Over under 8.5. Now it's down to 8. It was 8 last night. It's up to 8.5 today. I think a lot of the reason for that is that Tampa's the number 1 team against righties in baseball. Pittsburgh's number 12. I can't get to a bet here. I toyed around with the idea last night of betting the over when it was 8, but I couldn't quite justify doing it in Tampa. That ballpark is too much of a pitcher's park. And both of these pitchers, although they're due for negative regression, are pitching pretty well. Vince Velasquez having sort of a breakout-ish year at age 30. He's really kind of been above average across Baseball Savant. He is due some negative regression. Like I said, his expected ERA is closer to 3.9 than it is a 3. But he's allowed 0 earned runs in 3 of his last 4. So even though this Rays offense has been killing righties, I'm not quite willing to fade Velasquez at this expensive of a price. So I'm going to go ahead and stay away from that side of it. Same idea with Eflin on the other side too. Expected ERA a little bit over 4, so he is due some negative regression, but the results have been steady. And because Eflin's a guy that doesn't walk anybody, he's a low variance pitcher. What that means is you're not going to see Eflin give up 6 runs and then give up 0 and then give up 7 and then give up 0. He goes out there every start and allows somewhere between 1 and 3 runs. Super low variance there. So I just can't quite get to his side. The other factor that works against Eflin for me, he's pitched against the Tigers, A's, and the White Sox twice. So he hasn't exactly faced awesome competition. Pittsburgh's probably the best lineup he's faced. Both of these bullpens have been just okay. Tampa is dominating the series. So I would understand if somebody wanted to maybe just run line Tampa and try to catch them hot. But nothing quite here for me. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, if you want to go ahead and put your best bets out there, at least for the early games on Twitter, probably a good idea. That's what I was just doing right now. But I didn't get there either. Both starters are sitting on an ERA around 3 flats. Strikeout percentage is excellent. Walk percentage is excellent. Excuse me. As you said, the bad news though is that regression is a coming. Eflin's expected ERA is 4.18. His barrel percentage is over 13%. That's double that stat for any year he's ever pitched in the majors. And Vinny Velo's expected ERA is close to 4. His WOBA is outperforming his expected 274 to 304. I know these guys are performing really well, but it's not going to last. They've been pitchers who have not been consistently good at putting up numbers. I mean, gun to my head, I'll take Velasquez over Eflin simply because his pitching profile and metrics are much stronger than Eflin. But Velasquez was a pinata in the American League last season with Chicago. Then he was with Philly. He got hit around. He was with San Diego. He only pitched 12 innings for them and amassed an 8.5 ERA. Both offenses have been strong on pitchers, but both pitchers are pitching uncharacteristically well. All signs pointing to regression. Look at some of the career hitting splits, though. There's some opportunity there, I think, against Velasquez. Rosarena, Diaz, Franco, Margot, and Ramirez are all hitting 333 or better with at least 3 plate appearances. So if you really want to do something with the game, maybe a same game parlay or a hit prop, that's probably the way to look. The total is open at 7.5. I thought that was fishy. Ray's bullpen is very good. Buck's bullpen, top 10. Trop isn't exactly an over park by any means. So maybe take a look at the umpire. If he's also an over umpire, that could be a sneaky play. Obviously, that's where the movement and the juice has been going. But yeah, man, I got nothing on it. Should be a fun game to watch. So.
Cool. Sounds good. Same page. All right. So last of these 1 p.m. games and also the last interleague game we've got here on the card. The Angels and the Cardinals, those are the Anaheim Angels. For those of you who are confused, the LA Angels are not a real thing. They play in Orange County. It's hours and hours and hours away from LA. So don't get that confused. Griffin Canning pitching for the Angels. He did pitch in LA in college at UCLA. He's gone far away now. He'll take on Jack Flaherty, who also is from LA. He's from he pitched at Harvard Westlake and Encino. So a couple guys from LA pitching in St. Louis today. Cardinals minus 140 favorites. Angels plus 130 here. Looking at a total of 8.5. That's come down from about 9 last night. And actually looks like the Cardinals are up to minus 165 is what we've got on the board here. So been some Cardinals money overnight. I can't quite get there with either side here. Although the bigger the underdog the Angels become, the more tempting they become for me to bet. Cardinals have been an absolute mess. They've lost 6 in a row. They're finding creative ways to lose. Last night, they lit up Shohei Ohtani. That cost me. I thought Shohei would pitch well. He did not. They lit him up, and they still lost because their bullpen came in and blew it. Trout with a late homer. So it's getting harder and harder to defend the Cardinals. They're down to 10-21. This is one of their worst starts ever from a team that's basically been good my entire life. That being said, I got to imagine that at some point they're going to turn it around. They are pretty talented. And Griffin Canning pitching for Anaheim, he's the definition of league average, mediocre-ish. His expected ERA is actually a little bit high, close to 5. But, each one of his starts, 5 innings, each one of his starts, 2 or 3 earned runs. You kind of know what you're getting with him. He does get some swing and miss, but he gives up some hard contact. Flaherty on the other side, he's a tough guy for me to figure out. You look at his last 3 starts, he's allowed 12 combined runs. His expected ERA is over 5, so he's really been struggling. And his expected against actual ERA tells you that there might actually be more negative regression still to come for him. Walking way too many guys. His spot page otherwise looked kind of average. I was surprised at how the Dodgers crushed him in his last start. That's typically a place where he's pitched well. So neither starter inspires a ton of enthusiasm or confidence. I would probably lean to the Angels only if I look up pregame and this is plus 150 or better. I'm probably just going to take it with Anaheim and just see what happens because I think this should be a little bit closer to a pick 'em. But I also understand why the Cardinals are getting some money. They're better than they've looked. They might be a bit undervalued. I think they have a decent chance of avoiding the sweep. So kind of just a fishy, weird game for me that I want to stay away from. A couple average teams against righties too, so nothing really there. But I couldn't quite land on anything here. What do you got?
Hit send on those tweets so y'all can check out my Twitter profile, BC_Houston1. If y'all need to punch in those bets real quick while Donald and I are talking for a game that should be pitching here pretty soon. But we are. Sorry, I lost my spot real quick. There we go. There it is. All right. Angels are in good form. They just covered run lines in both meetings with the Cardinals so far this series. As you said, the Cardinals, they're just easily the most disappointing team in baseball so far from where they were projected to start this season off. And that's not to say that they can't still, turn it all around. We see it happen in baseball all of the time. But right now, they're just not a bet-on team. That being said, though, Griffin Canning on the bump, three starts so far this season, 7 earned on 13 hits. But he's sitting guys down, 15 strikeouts. He's going to find some success versus Cardinals lineup. They've just been so inconsistent. They've left the most men on base of any team in the majors. It's rough, man. It's been rough to be a St. Louis Cardinals fan so far. They've just not been a play-on team for me in any form or fashion. That being said, though, Jack Flaherty, the captain, has typically been a play-on pitcher for me in his career. He's had some issues with control. He's given up the long ball. He's allowed 1 home run in every one of his past 4 starts. And if you played his walk prop this season, you've cashed 5 out of 6 starts. So that's not good. He's still missing bats, and he does pitch better at home. So gun in my head, if I had to play it, Cardinals first 5. Canning, has also been walking some guys. He's given up a home run each of his last 2 starts. Maybe the over. Cardinals pin, middle of the pack. Anaheim bullpen's actually pretty good. They're top 5. But, I don't have much, man. It's a confusing game. I don't see an edge really anywhere.
Yeah. I kind of see it the way you do. Although I just looked at the updated odds, and I am going to add Angels plus 155 on the money line. It's just too expensive for Flaherty right now the way he's pitching. I'm only going to put 3/4 of a unit on it, but a little bit smaller than normal. But I don't know. I can't resist. I know Flaherty's been a play-on pitcher for the last couple of years, but he's just been terrible his last few starts. And I just can't get the image out of my head of how he looked in his last start against the Dodgers. And I think, right now, if you give me plus 155 against this Cardinals team, I just have to do it. So I just tweeted it out. I'm adding 3/4 of a unit on Angels plus 155 money line. I don't really like it below that number, but if you can get over 150 with Anaheim here, I can't help it. So if anybody is watching and wants to play that with me, that game does start in a few minutes. But yeah, there you go.
Yeah, you're right. That's just too much value there. I actually see a straight 155 out there as well. That 155 to take the Angels against any iteration of the Cardinals right now, even if Flaherty shoves, that bullpen's going to give it up anyway. It's going to give it up. There's a massive advantage between the 2 bullpens, even if you do get good performances out of Flaherty and Canning. Again, plus 150, you're right. All the value is on the Angels, especially with the Cardinals' current form. So I don't hate that at all. Put some pizza money on it. I'll have the game on anyway, right?
Exactly, yeah. Cool. All right, so we got through those first set of games. Sorry, I'm just logging this in Action Network now. I have or 30 people who follow there. Maybe one or two of them might play it. But all right, cool. So we're through the super early games here. Let's go ahead and jump into the rest of the card. Now we'll go in rotation order the rest of the way, starting with the Milwaukee Brewers minus 154 at Coors Field against the Rockies today. Over under 12.5 in that one. It's going to be Wade Miley heading to the mound for Milwaukee, the lefty. He'll take on righty Connor Siebold pitching for Colorado. Siebold maybe a little bit of a bullpen day there. I had a lean here. I didn't get to either side, and I'm certainly not going to get to either side, I don't think, now, because the line has moved in the direction that I might have played it. So I know you've got something here, so I'll let you take this one.
Yeah, my Pizza Money book has plus 140. That's a bummer. Yeah, well, I'll still throw a couple bucks on it. All right, sorry about that, but we're doing let's do Luzardo. Sorry, I lost my spot. 1 second. All right, there we are. Sorry about that. So Wade Miley. Yeah, right. So lefty Wade Miley, top of the top on the season finale of the beer series between Milwaukee and Colorado. He's opposed by 27-year-old righty Connor Siebold. Brewers are flailing right now. Excuse me. Losers of three in a row after being winners of 3 in a row after losing 3 in a row. They've amassed 3 runs in their first 2 games versus the Rockies in Coors Field. Now, granted, the weather hasn't been Coors type weather, which enables more scoring. Just the elevation was helping out, but it didn't matter. Just Lawrence and Kyle Freeland just shut them down, and those are typically guys who are going to shut down offenses. And that bullpen certainly shouldn't be allowed 4 hits and 1 run in 2 games between 8 pitchers. Bud Black is taking the skipper for the Rockies, taking a very interesting approach on how he's managing his pitching. Or managing his pitchers, I should say. He's like micromanaging them. Pitchers counts and short innings to basically put together one good complete game performance, not letting any pitcher stay in for more than a few innings. So it's an interesting philosophy and interesting strategy. And if you're going to implement something like that, the best place to do it would be the most volatile Major League Baseball venue in these United States. Not looking at you, Mexico City, and Coors Field. So far, it's working for the most part. Miley has been around for a minute. He's pitched like 35-ish innings in Coors. It's not gone well. 5.8 ERA, 24 runs on 50 base hits. You typically can get to the Rockies in strikeouts. They strike out a ton, and they hit significantly worse versus lefties. The problem is Miley has one of the lowest K rates in baseball. He's bottom 10% of all starters. Career numbers for the Rockies versus Miley's also staggering. Chris Bryant hitting 450 in 20 appearances. Charlie Blackmon 333 in 21. Edwin Diaz 429 in 14 appearances. Jurickson Profar 714 in 8 appearances. Even Moustakas is hitting over 300. So there's no reason today the lineup should not get good. There's no reason the Colorado lineup should not get good wood on the ball today. Miley also gets barreled a lot, 10% of the time. Hard hit rate also higher than average. So I think Colorado scores a lot of runs, basically. Connor Siebold, 5.7 ERA. He's been a lot better than those numbers make him look. So Zach got lit up by your Dodgers in his debut. That ballooned the ERA. But since then, he's been pretty solid, working exclusively in relief. Probably gets 3 or 4 solid innings. And then I don't trust his bullpen, even against this anemic Brewers offense. So let's do the Rockies. First 5 plus a half and their team total over 5. I think they win the game and they probably complete the sweep.
It's interesting because I would have leaned toward the other side, but those numbers on their hitters against Wade Miley are pretty staggering. I didn't quite get to those, so that's a good call. I'm staying away here just because Miley's just crafty, man. I mean, he's due for negative regression, but he's crafty, and he feels like a good stopper for Milwaukee. 2 or fewer runs allowed for him in 4 of his 5 starts. He's only allowed more than 5 hits once. That being said, he pitches to contact. He pitches almost exclusively to contact. That outfield at Coors Field is massive. It's not a place you want to pitch to contact. So I think Colorado's probably the sharp side in a way. The numbers moved toward Milwaukee overnight. It was like minus 140 last night, but I don't know really what to make of that. Um, I think what's keeping me off of it is Siebold's only built up to about 3 innings, and you're going to get a lot of innings from the Colorado bullpen here. Um, and Siebold's been okay. He throws strikes, so that certainly helps. But I'm just getting this much of the Colorado bullpen scares me. So I think if you're going to play him first
Mhm.
five is the way to look. I don't mind it. Not quite there, but I get it. And as somebody who's staying away, I'll certainly be rooting on Colorado for you.
Appreciate that.
Next game is Atlanta Braves, Miami Marlins. This game is a straight pick 'em minus 110 each way. Over under 8.5. Braves obviously the much better team, but I'm not quite on anything here. I know you are, so take it away.
Yeah, speaking of streaky, Fish also very streaky. Lost their first to at home versus Atlanta after winning 4 straight before losing 4 straight. Can't make this stuff up. They hit lefties well. Dylan Dodd, young rookie, he debuted very well versus St. Louis, and he just got annihilated by San Diego. Pitching profile is not great. He's getting barreled 20% of the time, which is very high. So I think Miami could probably get at him for a few early. Luzardo is the much better starter here, but my concern is the Braves are absolutely crushing left-handed pitching. They're really crushing everyone, but especially left-handed pitching. Top 3 in OPS, power. Luzardo has not had good stuff in his last 4 starts. He got touched for at least 3 by the Phillies, Giants, Guardians, and Cubs. He's still one of the best strikeout pitchers in the league, though, and the Braves do strike out quite a bit, 7th high K rate in the majors, actually. I'd like to take Luzardo on a coin flip because you're even on a coin flip on the money line or the first 5, but he's just not backable right now. And besides that, the Braves hold the hitting and the bullpen advantage, and it's not even close. It's not very often you can get Atlanta at minus 110 on the money line versus an improved, albeit still bottom-feeding team like the Marlins. So that is going to be my move. I think we see a lot of runs today as well. So I'll take the Bravos on the money line and give me the over 8.5.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I had written down here on my sheet strong lean Atlanta minus 105. So I certainly don't mind it at all. I think if you're going to play a side here, that's the right side to play.
Right.
I think the only thing scaring me away is Dylan Dodd. His expected ERA is about 8. His contact profile has been kind of a disaster. And Miami's been real. I don't know. There are 2 different ways to look at it, right? Miami's 10-0 in one-run games, so you can look at that as due for regression. They're getting lucky, or you can look at that as maybe they're just good in one-run games. I think it's somewhere in between, but I tend to lean toward they're due for regression and they're getting lucky. So that makes me like Atlanta quite a bit. Obviously, like you said, the lineups, the bullpens, they both lean Braves. Luzardo is steady but not spectacular. 3 runs, 3 runs, 4 runs, 2 runs allowed his last 4 starts. That was after a really hot start for him. His Baseball Savant page does steadily above average. Much stronger Baseball Savant profile for him than for Dodd in general. I look at this: Atlanta 5th against lefties, Miami 10th against lefties. So 2 top 10 teams in the split. I like your over for that as a result. Only thing keeping me off of that is the ballpark here. Again, this is one of those games that on a normal day I'd get involved with, but because I'm only playing slam dunks right now, I'm staying away. But I think if I were on sides here, I'd be leaning Braves and I'd be leaning over. So I like what you've got there.
Appreciate it.
Next one, heading to the American League. Twins, White Sox. This game gets started in a little over an hour, 2:10 p.m. Eastern. Minnesota, small favorites here, minus 136. Over under 7.5. That was 8 last night. Still leaning a little bit toward the 8 with the over juiced minus 120. A couple decent pitchers here. Pablo Lopez going for Minnesota against Lucas Giolito for Chicago. Looking down at our bets here. It doesn't look like either one of us have anything going on this one. I'll go ahead and just give my 2 cents on the game. I kind of make these pitchers even at the moment. Giolito's pitching really well. His expected ERA is now down under 4, and a lot of that comes down to the fact that he's dipped his walk rate way down this year, and he's been pitching well, especially recently. Over his last 4 starts, 25 and 2/3 innings, just 7 earned runs allowed. That's less than 2 per start. Also more than 6 innings per start. he did pitch against Minnesota at the beginning of that streak, 6 innings, 1 run on the road at Target Field. Impressive start there. His baseball savant page says he's about average in general. I think right now he's probably a little bit above average just because he's pitching well, and I think some of those early season starts are dragging his numbers down a bit. Mixed numbers against Minnesota for his career, 8-9 with a 4.03 ERA in the matchup. He did have good results last year against Minnesota, even though it was a down year for him as a whole. So it's not a matchup that he hates. So I think it's a decent starting pitching side for Chicago there. And then obviously Pablo Lopez is a pretty damn talented arm for Minnesota. They signed him long term for that reason. Unfortunately for him, last 2 starts, 10 innings, 11 earned runs allowed, despite facing the Nats and the Royals. So that's a little bit disturbing, but still, this is a guy, he pitched into the 8th inning the last time he saw Chicago, only gave up 2 runs in that start. His expected ERA, 3.32. So he's actually due, a bit of positive regression, and his baseball savant page across the board looks overwhelmingly positive. So cold pitcher who's due some positive regression against a guy in Giolito who's pitching well. I think the starting pitching matchup is close to a wash. I might give a slight edge to Chicago. But everywhere else, the edges are Minnesota's way. Minnesota's better against righties. They rank 12th. Chicago ranks 23rd in WRC+. Bullpen, Minnesota's ranked 11th so far in expected FIP. Chicago ranks 25th. I think looking at these two, Minnesota as a small favorite makes sense to me because the pitching matchup's close to even, and I think Minnesota's better otherwise. That's a very detailed handicap to say that I don't have a side.
No one can ever accuse you of not doing your homework, even on games you pass on.
Yeah.
You know how I feel about the Twins. I'm on record that screw both sides. Screw both cities on either side of the Mississippi. Their offense is trash. They're probably gonna be trash today versus Lucas Giolito. He's kind of been all over the place since improving from last year's horrible year after 3, probably 4 seasons maybe of being one of the more dominant pitchers in the majors. He saw these Twins about 3 weeks ago and he had a pretty good performance. 6 pitched, allowing 1 earned on 5 hits and fanning 7. I have no reason to think he's not going to turn a similar performance today. Pablo Lopez also saw the White Sox in that same series, and he was actually a little more dominant. He went 7 2/3, allowing 2 earned on 3 hits and sitting down 10. And he's got the higher ceiling. I don't think anyone's going to argue that. The better stuff, if you will. I immediately thought first 5 under, as I really don't want anything to do with these offenses or the White Sox bullpen. Problem is, Lopez hasn't been super sharp in his last 2 starts. 11 earned, 1 home run on 16 hits in 2 starts versus, wait for it, the Nats and the Royals. Not good. So I lean Chicago here. I like Giolito. I've been rooting for him. I'm glad he's turning it around, or at least it seems like he's heading in a positive direction. But if I mess with this game at all, it'll only be the first 5 because the bullpen, especially the Chicago bullpen, is where unders and W's go to die. White Sox first 5 at even money is available if I had to play anything.
Yeah, I don't mind that side at all. And one of the things you mentioned, you said you root for Lucas Giolito. I played with him quite a bit growing up. Played with and against him. We grew up in the same area. Nicest kid around. He really is a kid worth rooting for. I did a lot of scout team stuff with him, and he's always a guy that I root for because he was always incredibly kind. So just something to note there. Next game on. Sorry.
I said, yeah, you're right. He seemed like a good dude. I've seen quite a few of his interviews, and
he really.
Nice turning around.
All right, next game on the board is probably my favorite of the day. Right up there. These next 2 are I think my 2 favorites of the day. I know we're both on the same side here. Baltimore Orioles at Kansas City Royals. We have a tongue twister there. Orioles, Royals. But O's big favorites minus 184. Over under 9.5 runs. That total has held steady from last night. Grayson Rodriguez taking the mound for Baltimore, their prized rookie, their top prospect, who is starting to really look like it. His last 2 starts, he's pitched 5 innings in each of them, hasn't allowed a run in either of them. He's really starting to look good as he gets more adjusted. He's got that expected ERA down to 4. I expect that to continue to drop. There's a reason he's been one of the top pitching prospects in baseball for a few years in a row now. And the Royals are a great matchup for him. They're the worst team in baseball against right-handed pitching. I think Grayson Rodriguez shoves. So I like the Orioles on the run line -1.5. I like the Orioles on the first 5 run line, laying half run at -125 ish, whatever number you happen to get that at. I got it at -120, which is great. But either way, I like it quite a bit. Jordan Lyles, expected ERA for Kansas City, 6.06. He has been piss poor across the board. If you look at his Savant profile, the Orioles are happy to be rid of him and not have him in their rotation anymore. You look at his past 5 starts, 5 runs allowed, 4 runs, 4 runs, 4 runs, 7 runs allowed. That's about as consistently terrible as it gets. He gives up a ton of runs every time he goes out there, and the Orioles have a good offense. So I like the O's to get after him early. I like them to jump out to a lead. On the flip side, Baltimore 6th in baseball against right-handed pitching in WRC+. Baltimore 3rd-ranked bullpen in baseball in xFIP. You look at Kansas City, they're closer to the middle of the pack in that. The fact they split the first 2 games, I like Baltimore a lot to come out and win the series. I think the better team usually does in spots like that. Orioles have all the advantages here. Starting pitching advantage, relief pitching advantage. They're better against righties. They're the better lineup overall. Certainly games like this have blown up in my face before, but I'm betting it doesn't here. Give me the Orioles big. What do you
got? Nice. Real quick programming note for you. Not a programming note, but some breaking news. For anyone who does any handicapping or betting on college baseball, news came out the other day, excuse me, that Ohio gambling regulators were prohibiting wagers on the University of Alabama baseball team effective immediately after suspicious wagering activity took place surrounding that club. Now they have just announced that Alabama baseball coach Brad Bohannon has been fired for, among other things, violating the standards, duties, and responsibilities expected of a university employee. So, interesting. We'll keep an eye on that one. What do you think about that, Dalton?
Yeah, it's pretty wild. It's good to see that when stuff like this is going on, it seems to be getting caught. It seems that the powers that be in charge of integrity on this stuff are on the ball and doing a pretty good job as watchdogs. I think people tend to see things like this and think that the sky is falling from a gambling perspective. It's not. This industry is only continuing to grow, and I think it will for a little while longer. I think if anything is going to sink the sports gambling industry or cause problems for it, I think it's much more likely to be taxes that are being charged on things, and those things leading to bettors having to lay 120 on either side of bets. Mm-hmm. That's more what scares me than this integrity type stuff. This stuff gets sniffed out pretty quick. That's just my 2 cents.
Exactly. Was like nefarious and unfair practices in bookmaking. That's going to be the downfall of it. That and accepting action on the WWE. Sky's going to be falling then.
Yeah, I mean, if you're betting on the WWE, you're probably going to get the fate you deserve. That's just not very smart.
Yeah, you got problems. I need to invent another word that's more explicit than degeneracy, if that's what you're up to.
Yeah.
Unless you got an edge. I mean, you and I know Booker T. I mean, he might be able to feed us some information.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, I know you're on the Orioles. You're on the run line as well.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. Yes, yeah, Jordan Lyles, 0-5, ERA over 6. He's got lit up by Minnesota and the Angels. Just pitching profiles, blue as the sky. Orioles should hit him around pretty good today. I do like Grayson Rodriguez a lot. Excuse me. He started off very rough. He allowed 11 earned on 14 hits in his first 3 games versus the Rangers, White Sox, and A's. But since then, he's really settled down. His last 2 appearances, he has not allowed a run on 11 hits. Now, you have to keep in mind, though, those were 2 games against the Detroit Tigers. So, it's something to keep in the back of your head. The good news is the KC offense is not doing much better. The DFL and OPS versus righties and striking out the 4th highest rate as well versus righties. I like Rodriguez. I think he's going to have a good outing. Take a look at his prop, his strikeout total. I think that's probably something to take a look at as well. I'll take the over in his K prop. I just got to find it first. Yeah, I mean, this checks all the boxes. KC bottom 5 bullpen in the league as well. Lyle's home runs numbers are bonkers. And you get a 10-mile-an-hour wind blowing out at Kaufman today. So, yeah, Orioles run line all day. Probably going to be my favorite bet. Well, yeah, probably my favorite bet of the day, I think.
Nice. Yeah, we're definitely in agreement there.
Yep.
All right. We got Mariners and A's out west. Mariners absolutely gigantic favorites here, minus 252 over Oakland, over under 8.5 in that game. I know you are all over the Mariners. You're laying an alternate run line there. I'm on the Mariners team total. I managed to set that team total at over 4.5. I would play it at 5 as well, as long as the juice isn't too crazy. Over 5.5 starts getting dicey, but I'll give a quick one-sided handicap on why I like the Mariners offense today, and then I'll let you take it away from there. I know you like the Mariners as a whole. Drew Rucinski starting for Oakland. This is a 34-year-old who hasn't really pitched since 2018. He's made one start so far. It was against the lowly Cincinnati Reds, and he went out there and gave up 11 hits, which is giving him a 7.5 expected ERA through one start. Obviously, that's a tiny sample. We're not going to read into that too much, but I don't really know why expectations would be high for him here. This is just really not a guy who's been in the league for a while. I know he was. I think he was pitching in. I think he was pitching in Japan last year. Might have been Korea. I'm not exactly sure which one, but overseas. And you look at this Mariners lineup is okay. I mean, they're kind of middle of the road against righties. But the thing about Oakland, it almost doesn't matter what lineup they're facing. I think when you look at Rucinski, I think we can comfortably expect him to give up 3 or 4 runs to Seattle. Even if he gives up 2, that Oakland bullpen is so bad. I mean, you look at it last night. They come into the game. They're up 2-0, or 2-0, late in that game. They give up a run in the 7th, a run in the 9th, and 5 runs in the 10th to lose the game 7-2. And that's just what they've done over and over. Oakland has allowed 4 or more runs in 26 of 31 games. They've allowed 5 or more runs in 21 of 31 games. If you bet this blindly every game, it's going to hit 2/3 of the time on team total over 4.5 against them. I'm laying a little bit of juice with it at minus 140. I am comfortable doing that. I think Seattle's offense will be just fine here, and I'm betting them to do what they're going to do to Oakland, because it's what everybody does to Oakland. So that's my side here. I know you're on the same side. You're approaching it a little differently. Hit me with what you got.
Yeah, I mean, I'll make this pretty quick. Drew Rucinski isn't someone who needs to be pitching in Major League Baseball. He was at KBO these past few seasons. He hasn't been in the major since 2018 for good reason. He's not a quality MLB starter. That's really all there is to it. So, I mean, like you said, excuse me, it should have been a good spot to open up against the lowly Reds. But he just got annihilated in that game. And I understand that A's are plagued by injury right now, and I understand there's turmoil with fans wanting the owner to sell while the owner is making a play to go to Las Vegas. But the team as a whole has still performed like crap. Now they fly a pitcher from halfway across the world who's not been in the majors since 2018. I don't know. It's such a shit show over there in Oakland right now. I feel bad for the fans. I really do, because they don't deserve this. I mean, the guys out there, you can just tell the whole team's pretty much already given up. And it's just we were the first week of May, and the team already looks defeated. So, I mean, I'm playing an alt line today because I got plus 110 when I saw Rucinski was announced. So you're probably going to end up playing a lot of alt lines when it comes to playing against the Athletics, because that's the only way you're going to get the juice to something reasonable, even though they're probably not going to win 50, 55-ish games, maybe on the high side. George Kirby's been a solid opener. He was roughed up in his opener. So he's been roughed up in his debut against Anaheim, but I see. The A's actually have been pretty competitive with Seattle so far, but this is where the wheels fall off. So Mariners alt line minus 2.5 at plus 110. I'm also going to tell you on the team total over 5. I was able to find a 5. It's pretty juice, but I'm still going to play it because, like you said, that bullpen's trash.
Yeah, well, sounds good. I don't mind that at all. We got one more game to go through today. It's the only night game tonight, and it's still only kind of a night game. It's a 6 p.m. Eastern start. Blue Jays and Red Sox from Fenway Park. Red Sox have dominated this series. They've won each of the first 3 games. Each of the first 3 games have also gone over the total. Red Sox just continue to score a ton of runs and make up for what is just okay pitching. I am staying away from this game because as I handicapped this game, I sort of landed in two different directions at once. I was first liking the Blue Jays, and then as I kept going, I started liking the Red Sox on the run line. I was leaning toward the over, but money's been pouring in on the under, and I'm not really in a position to sit there and try to guess which way this is going. But I know you've got a little bit of a stronger opinion here than I do, so go ahead.
It's not much of a stronger opinion, actually, bud. I'm gonna fade Bayo. He's the young Dominican fireballer that the Red Sox are running out there. He's gotten smoked pretty good so far this season. Excuse me, but he's managed to settle down, turn in some good performances. His last start versus Cleveland, he was very, very good. Problem is the Jays hit right as well. 6 starters in this lineup are hitting 375 or better versus Bayo. And that's with the minimum 4 appearances. He's not been in the league that long. So I think they get to him early. I do. Gotham has been dealing 2.33 ERA, 1.01 whip, and he just shut down the Mariners and the Yankees. 14 innings pitched, 9 hits, no runs. So he is coming in hot right now. He's got to bring his A game. Like you said, the Red Sox have won both already in series, and the balls have been flying out of Fenway for this entire series. Look at the lineup comparisons. Turner, Refsnyder, and Arroyo are the only ones hitting well versus Gossman in qualifying number of plate appearances. That's because Gossman's been in the league significantly longer than Bayo. So he has seen a lot of these guys, these veterans especially, but he still managed to keep them at respectable batting averages and respectable RBI numbers. So yes, Boston's crushing starting pitching right now, and yes, they've won every game in the series, and yes, Gossman has had his issues versus the sacks in Fenway in his career. I think he brings his stuff today, and Bayo gets touched up enough for us to cover that first 5 run line. So give me Blue Jays first 5 minus half run, minus 125. And I'm still seeing pretty even numbers, 110, 105. Excuse me, on the over or under. I'm leaning over, but it kind of feels like this would be like the counterintuitive. I would say this would be like the counter to like, okay, every game's gone over, so now is the time we play the under. So I don't know. What's your opinion on that? You got a feel as far as total?
I mean, my only lean on this game is to the over, especially at 8.5. Games in Fenway have been soaring over numbers. Games between these two teams tend to soar over numbers. They are number 5 and number 7 respectively against right-handed pitching. So, what's keeping me off of Boston is that of Gausman is that he allowed 6 hits in his last start. So I do wonder if there's a little bit of regression due for him negatively, and Boston hit him pretty hard late in the season last year. But like you said, Gausman's been great. His expected ERA is around 3. Bayo is a guy that at some point is going to figure it out. He just hasn't yet, and so I'm not really super eager to play on him either. So the only way I can look here is toward an over. You look at Boston 5th in baseball WRC plus against righties, Toronto 7th in baseball WRC plus against righties. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I could I'll put it this way: this game's the last game of the night. If I'm sitting here 4-0 and I'm hot and I'm clearly looking forward well today, and maybe I'll fire on an over. But I'm not going to go out of my way to do it. I think I'm fine with sitting this one out.
This is your Hawaii game.
Basically. Tigers
That's
up 2-0
awesome.
bottom of the first. Looks like 2 straight solo homers for them against Verlander there. All right, let's go through our best bets. I know a couple of these have already started. I'm on the Cubs first 5 team total over 2.5, Mariners team total over 4.5, Orioles run line both first half and full game, and I'm on the Tigers plus 1.5. I also did a late ad of Anaheim plus 155 for about 3/4 of a unit there on the money line. Those are going to be my 5. Let's make it 6 plays for today. And BC, I'll let you go ahead and run through yours. You got a little bit of a bigger list here.
Yeah, give me the Mariners on the alt run line. It's plus 110, and I just added the team total over 5. You have convinced me that is going to be a winner tonight, and I don't disagree. O's run line minus 1.5. If excuse me, if y'all have one bet to make tonight, Dalton and I both agree. O's run line minus 1.5 is the one to put it on. which means they're going to lose by 20. Kidding. Braves money line -110. Braves Marlins over 8.5. Mets Tigers first 5 under 4 already in jeopardy. Thank you, Justin Verlander. Rockies first 5 plus a half. I really like that look. I think Miley hits the showers early out there in Coors Field. Rockies team total over 5, and then the Bear Cubs first 5 minus a half.
All right. Well, sounds good. Thanks to anybody who tuned in today. Obviously, a lot of daytime baseball, so not quite as much shelf life on the video today, but hopefully we can get some winners under our belt. I know, speaking for myself, I have an ice cold, so I need them, but I'm working harder and harder at it. I'm not going to lose for a lack of research. So hopefully some folks will stick with me. If not, I totally get it. Feel free to fade. Feel free to tail. Feel free to tell us that you hate us, that you love us, whatever you want. Any likes, comments, certainly appreciated. I see my barber here, Tanny Cuts, coming in. He likes those overs on the Boston game. Tanny, I don't mind it, man. I don't mind it at all.
Not at all, man. Go for it.
If you want action on that game, I think that's the way to look. And I'll text you if I do play it, man, because it could happen. We'll see. Hopefully, I get hot before then. But yeah, appreciate anybody who tuned in. Thanks for joining me, BC, and we'll be back sometime next week. We'll let y'all know.
Yep, sounds good. Good luck, everyone. Have a great weekend.